Hello and welcome back everybody. It's Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. What would you do if your wife leaves you for another man and suddenly returns after 10 plus years and wants her family back? Me, my ex-wife, will call her X, my neighbor, the AP, and my neighbor's wife will call her M.
Me and my wife married in 2009, and we had our baby a year later. In November 2010, while she was asleep, a message popped on her phone. I checked, and it was from our neighbor. I went through every single message, which included texting, sharing revealing pics, and even had planned meetups at hotels.
This was going on from the first week into our marriage.
I felt like my world crumbled in front of me. I took screenshots of every message and saved them on my phone. Next day, I contacted M and let her know about the relationship. They were married for 4 years and had their first baby almost the exact same time as we had ours.
I confronted my wife and told her that I'm going to divorce her.
She started crying and everything else, but I did not consider it. I also did a paternity test on our child, our son, because the affair timeline was the same as the conception date. After 2 days, when I come home from work, our baby was crying in our bed, and X was nowhere to be seen. Then I found a letter of her telling that she did not love me and she had left with AP and to not contact them.
How could she leave her baby like that?
I knew this was coming, but I didn't believe that a mother can leave her child about 6 months old alone and can run off with her lover. I then went to M's house. She had received the same letter by her husband.
They basically disowned us.
I felt sorry for her, as she was going from postpartum depression, had her baby just a few months ago, and was left alone. Also, paternity test result came back and he was my son. I tried to contact X's family, but they also didn't know where she was and was shocked by her behavior. Her father even said that if she ever came back, she would not be allowed to enter their house.
Well, my life continued with M in the picture.
M was very supportive. She began coming to my home to watch the kids and even breastfed both of them, hers and mine. As time passed, we were like family. My son called her mom and had only known her as mom. We also decided to go on dates.
We were engaged a year later and married in 2013.
We had our first child in 2015. We often discussed things about our exes and how we were often disrespected by them. We were a happy family. In 2018, when my son accidentally saw a picture of my ex, picture after birth, so it included X, me, and him, so we decided to tell him that his birth mother, X, had died in a car accident years ago, and M took care of him since he was 6 months old.
Fast forward to 2 days ago, I received an anonymous email.
I opened it and it read, "I want to see my son and want my family back. We are not divorced yet." I knew it was X. I showed this to M and she started freaking out and asked me if I would ever take her back. I calmed her down and told her that she was an ugly past and I would never leave you. I would never take her back.
Now I'm confused about what to do.
I will definitely not take her back, but should I let her meet my son or not? Should I take my son's opportunity to have connection with her birth mother?
As an update, let me say a lot has happened since my last post.
So let's start by saying this, that we didn't require court or a lawyer. Some of you claimed that she would have no parental rights over my son as she had abandoned us years ago. To confirm the claim, I contacted my friend, who is a lawyer, and confirmed that she could face heavy fines, termination of parental rights, and jail. I told him about the time period of abandonment and asked what are the chances of winning in my case were. He told me that if a parent fails to contact physically to child for over a year, 99% he or she is given termination of parental rights. I had a sigh of relief after listening to those words. I also joined therapy with my son so that I can tell him the truth about his biological mother.
Why did she contact me after 10 years?
I messaged her father, who was still a best friend of mine, and asked if X contacted his family or not. Turns out that she had contacted her sister for money time to time for 10 years, but now her sister is not willing to help her as she was asking a bit more money. I asked him about her conditions and whether introducing her to my son would be a good idea or not.
Well, she just has a minimum wage job, lives in a small apartment with 3 roommates.
By listening to him saying this, I felt bad for her, but she earned it. He said that she would have a bad influence on her son, so it's better not to introduce him to X. Next, I called her sister and asked her what their conversations like in the past 10 years were.
She told me everything.
How X contacted her only for money because after paying rent, she had no money left for groceries and other utilities. X never asked about my son, but called only for money. I asked her about the relationship between X and AP, to which she replied, he is in prison for sex offenses since 2015. I don't know why, but I felt happy upon hearing this news.
Does she know about the divorce?
She said X has no idea about the divorce, and she still thinks that we are legally married. I asked her to tell X about everything: divorce, child custody, my new family, and that she has no right over my son. I told everything to M, and she was a bit surprised by X's behavior. She never thought that a mother can be so careless towards her own child. She was shocked to hear the news about AP.
It's been 30 days and X has not contacted us. Family counseling going great, and we have decided to legally adopt one another's kids.
I don't think X will contact, as her sister might have told her about her position in case legally, and that she would just waste money by hiring an attorney.
End of the first story. We have another story coming up next, but before that, if you're enjoying the video so far, please give a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. The second story is titled Serving Her the Divorce Papers on Our 5th Wedding Anniversary. I was inspired to share this story, which I hope at least interesting. It never fails to bring a smile to my face.
After finding evidence that my then-wife was probably having a relationship, I was investigating. Honestly, I was also looking for innocent explanations. My boss always said, look for the innocence when we would investigate suspicious behavior. 2 days after I determined she'd been at a hotel instead of work, I looked at her phone. She was definitely having a relationship, but the text conversation was sent to an unsaved number, so I couldn't be sure of her AP's identity. My guess was that it was one person she worked with.
I made a mistake of looking at his LinkedIn page while logged into mine.
Some people have premium LinkedIn accounts that let them see who has viewed their profile. This was one such person. He noticed and was worried. He mentioned it to my then-wife. She always fancied herself smarter than she was, so she decided to just confront me about it, but couch it as, hey, AP was wondering why you looked at his LinkedIn page. She was fishing, possibly trying to read my expressions as well as gauge my answer.
As a rule, I don't lie. I never see the need. Lying is about fear.
In this case, I was afraid she'd realize I was onto her before I was ready to confront her, so I lied. Her AP was Mexican. I struck upon a fantastic story in a flash of brilliance. Oh, yeah, I never understood Mexican last names. They're not hyphenated, but sometimes there are two. But is one a middle name legally, or are they both officially last names? I know you've said his last name is Sanchez Rubio, but his LinkedIn is just Rubio. Honestly, it was a masterful performance. Still, she insisted that I ask my questions while she recorded a video on her phone to send to him. I assume she wanted him to see how sincere I was. I don't lie often, but I'm a fantastic liar.
The best part of all this is that they both totally bought it completely.
Later that evening, I looked at the text conversation between her and her AP, who I still hadn't positively identified. His number was unsaved in the phone, and though that LinkedIn conversation was wildly suspicious, it wasn't definitive. Except that he was so convinced of the sincerity of my question of Mexican culture, he took a picture of his driver's license and sent it to her in their text conversation. He'd basically signed his name. It made me think of an old Dave Chappelle joke that he'd only believe someone was guilty if he'd held up a copy of his driver's license. Well, her AP did, which was thanks to my breathtaking spur-of-the-moment lie and video performance. Though they were worried at first, they realized they were both much too clever for me.
Well, OP has an edit for us.
Some folks are asking for an ending, so here's a quick version. These events took place 6 days before I went to visit a lawyer. It was the first appointment I could get. It also happened to be our 5th wedding anniversary. My plan was to ask for a divorce the next week because no one would ask for a divorce on a wedding anniversary, right?
Well, the visit to the lawyer really hit me hard.
My lawyer told me that no one wins. She was right. I went home from work early. It freaked out my then-wife because she thought I was going to surprise her at work for her anniversary or something. Spoiler, she wasn't at work. She was at a hotel. She still doesn't know I know that. But my behavior made her very curious, so I had to tell her, I suspect you're cheating. Lawyer told me not to reveal the proof. She pointed out correctly that she'd been lying all this time, so she's not going to stop.
So yeah, it's over.
I asked for a divorce on our 5th wedding anniversary. Finalized 4 months later. Finally got out of the shared house 3 months after that. We share 50-50 custody of our now 5-year-old daughter. My ex-wife still has yet to admit anything, but I don't need her to. I have lots of proof. The happy ending is that I am much happier being away from her. I feel freer to move and breathe. She used to complain about even my breathing. I can do crazy things for my daughter, like paint an entire wall in rainbow colors or build her a castle. I'll be posting later on my zany Halloween decorations. Freedom.
Now, here is a side note.
I later discovered that her AP's phone number wasn't unsaved. She just wanted it to appear that way. When she saved his phone number in her phone, she hadn't used a name, but had saved it as another different phone number. It was reasonably clever, but she neglected to save it as the phone would have displayed it. However, the whole game falls apart when you have long texting with an unsaved number. That's just weird.
Well, OP, you are masterful. I'm glad that you got rid of her. I wish you all the best in life. End of the story. Please like, comment and share the video if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.